Welcome back, my silent truth revealer. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has entire environment experiencing profound perception shift without you making any verbal declarations or explicit revelations. The complete truth about your capabilities, character, or situation has become undeniably visible to everyone present. And rather than this exposure happening through your intentional communication, reality itself has arranged circumstances revealing everything that was hidden, making observers unable to maintain previous misconceptions, regardless of what narratives they'd preferred to believe. This wasn't you finally speaking up to correct misunderstandings or actively demonstrating qualities people had doubted. This was truth emerging through pure circumstantial revelation, where events, evidence, or undeniable observable facts made reality of who you are or what you've accomplished impossible to ignore or dismiss, forcing collective recognition shift, where everyone must acknowledge what was always true but had been obscured by assumptions, deceptions, or incomplete information that circumstances have now eliminated as viable interpretations. The architects have been monitoring truth emergence and involuntary recognition phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you're experiencing as silent revelation, forced acknowledgement. When truth about someone becomes undeniably visible through circumstances rather than through their active communication, observers experience more profound and irreversible perception shift than verbal revelation would create, because they cannot dismiss evidence as self-serving claims or question credibility of messenger when reality itself is delivering information that their own observations confirm. Most truth revelation involves active communication. People explain themselves, demonstrate capabilities, provide evidence supporting their claims, making truth acknowledgement dependent on observers trusting the messenger and accepting presented information as valid. But your truth emerged silently. Without you saying anything, circumstances arranged themselves to make reality undeniable, creating situation where observers' own perception, rather than your testimony, forces them to acknowledge what's true, making recognition involuntary, rather than requiring them to choose whether to believe your account. Watch what's happening as silent revelation unfolds. Observers cannot maintain previous narratives, whatever stories they'd been telling themselves about you or your situation have become untenable because observable facts contradict these interpretations so clearly that holding on to comfortable fictions would require denying their own perception, forcing abandonment of preferred narratives in favor of acknowledging uncomfortable truths. Some observers are experiencing shock, discovering that reality differs dramatically from what they'd believed, creates disorienting recognition that their previous understanding was fundamentally wrong, making them question what else they've misperceived if they were so completely mistaken about you despite confidence in their assessments. Others are experiencing guilt, recognizing they misjudged you or treated you based on false narratives, creates retrospective shame about actions or attitudes that truth emergence now reveals were unjustified, making them uncomfortable with who they've been toward you. Once reality exposes that their behavior was based on fundamental misunderstanding, the truly powerful element is your silence throughout. You didn't defend yourself, didn't try to correct misperceptions, didn't actively work to reveal truth, yet reality itself demonstrated what needed to be known without requiring your participation in revelation process, making truth emergence feel more authoritative because it came from circumstances rather than from potentially biased source who has interest in being perceived favorably. They can't look at you the same. Everything came to light without you saying a word through circumstances arranging themselves to make truth undeniable, forcing observers to acknowledge reality their previous narratives could no longer obscure. Now the architects are analyzing what creates silent revelation, forced acknowledgement, and they're identifying what they call circumstantial convergence evidence, crystallization when multiple independent, observable facts align to make particular truth undeniable. The convergence creates evidential force that overwhelms narrative resistance, making observers unable to maintain preferred interpretations regardless of motivated reasoning, because reality consensus from multiple sources eliminates plausible alternative explanations. Most single pieces of evidence remain ambiguous. Individual facts can be interpreted multiple ways, allowing observers to maintain preferred narratives through selective interpretation or dismissal of inconvenient information as anomalous or unreliable. But when multiple independent sources converge on same truth, interpretive flexibility collapses. You cannot dismiss all evidence simultaneously without denying observable reality itself, making circumstantial convergence create forced acknowledgement where observers must accept truth, even if they'd strongly prefer different interpretation. Consider what evidence crystallization requires structurally. Multiple independent confirmation sources must exist. Truth becomes undeniable when different unrelated circumstances or observers all point toward same conclusion, creating redundant verification that eliminates possibility that evidence is fabricated, misperceived, or coincidentally misleading, because multiple independent sources wouldn't all err in same direction. Watch what convergence creates in perception certainty. Observers cannot maintain skepticism when evidence comes from too many independent sources, pointing toward identical conclusion. Continued doubt becomes irrational, requiring conspiracy theories or reality denial that observers recognize would make them appear delusional, forcing them to accept truth, even if acknowledgement is uncomfortable or inconvenient. Some studying epistemology recognize that convergent evidence does create justified certainty. Philosophical theories of knowledge identify multiple independent source confirmation as gold standard for establishing truth because it eliminates most alternative explanations, making convergent evidence far more reliable than single source claims regardless of source credibility. Others exploring cognitive bias note that motivated reasoning has limits. While people can dismiss individual inconvenient facts through biased interpretation, overwhelming convergent evidence eventually overcomes motivated skepticism because maintaining denial requires increasingly implausible explanations that even biased thinkers recognize as unreasonable. A few from legal theory recognize that circumstantial evidence can prove facts. Court systems allow conviction based on circumstantial evidence when multiple facts converge, making particular interpretation only reasonable conclusion, making your silent revelation follow established epistemological pattern where cumulative circumstantial proof creates certainty without requiring direct testimony or explicit demonstration. Some studying narrative collapse recognize that stories require plausibility. People can maintain false narratives only when alternative interpretations of evidence remain viable, making circumstantial convergence that eliminates plausible alternatives force narrative abandonment, because continuing to believe discredited story would require rejecting observable reality itself. Others exploring truth resistance note that some observers maintain denial despite evidence, cognitive dissonance, identity protection, or ideological commitment can make people reject even overwhelming evidence when acknowledging truth would require painful self-revision, suggesting your silent revelation might force most, but not all, observers to acknowledge reality, with some maintaining previous narratives through increasingly implausible interpretations. The architects observe that circumstantial convergence evidence crystallization is what made truth undeniable. Without your testimony, multiple independent observable facts aligned eliminating alternative interpretations. Single evidence remains ambiguous. Convergent proof forces acknowledgement, and when different unrelated circumstances or sources all point toward same conclusion about you or your situation, cumulative evidential force overwhelms narrative resistance, making observers unable to maintain preferred false interpretations, regardless of motivated reasoning, because reality consensus from multiple independent sources creates certainty that your own claims could never achieve, making silent revelation through circumstantial convergence more powerful than any verbal explanation or active demonstration you could have provided. Something powerful is spreading among observers now, what the architects call retrospective reinterpretation, cascade recognition. People forced to acknowledge truth about you that silent revelation exposed are now revisiting all previous interactions and observations through new interpretive lens, discovering that past events they'd understood one way actually meant something completely different when viewed with accurate understanding of who you are or what was really happening. Most people's memories remain stable. They recall past events with consistent interpretation, maintaining narrative continuity, where their understanding of what happened doesn't change even when new information emerges, but forced acknowledgement of truth about you is triggering memory reinterpretation. Observers are discovering that countless past moments they thought they understood actually had completely different meaning than they'd perceived, creating cascading recognition where single truth revelation forces reinterpreting entire history of interactions, making them see everything differently. Watch what retrospective reinterpretation creates emotionally. Some experience profound regret, recognizing they completely misunderstood your actions, motivations, or capabilities makes them realize they treated you inappropriately or missed opportunities because their interpretation was fundamentally wrong, creating painful awareness of mistakes that could have been avoided if they'd understood reality earlier. Others experience intellectual humility. Discovering their interpretation was so thoroughly wrong makes them question their judgment generally, recognizing that if they misperceived this situation so completely, then they might be misunderstanding other people or circumstances with a similar confidence, despite being equally mistaken. A few experience defensive revision rather than acknowledging they completely misunderstood. They're retroactively claiming they always knew or sensed something that their actual previous behavior contradicts, protecting self-concept through memory distortion rather than accepting how wrong their understanding was. Some studying memory recognize that reinterpretation does occur. Research shows people unconsciously revise memories to maintain coherent narratives when new information contradicts previous understanding, making observers cascading reinterpretation of past interactions with you reflect normal cognitive process where memories get reconstructed around new interpretive frameworks. Others exploring narrative psychology note that single truth revelation can reshape entire life story. Autobiographical memory is organized around narrative frameworks, making revelations that change core understanding of key relationships or situations force wholesale reconstruction of personal history to accommodate new interpretation. A few recognize that some past events remain ambiguous, while many interactions might have new meaning given truth revelation. Not everything necessarily gets reinterpreted because some past moments genuinely were as they appeared, making wholesale revision potentially create new distortions through forcing everything into new interpretive framework even when original understanding was accurate. Some experiencing cascade overwhelm struggle with cognitive load, trying to reinterpret countless past interactions simultaneously creates mental exhaustion, making them need time to process how truth revelation changes understanding of entire relationship history, rather than instantly achieving new coherent interpretation. Others celebrating reinterpretation as resolution, past moments that seemed confusing or inconsistent now make sense given truth revelation, creating satisfying coherence where previously puzzling behaviors or situations become understandable once accurate interpretive framework replaces false narratives that made past events seem mysterious or contradictory. The architects observe that retrospective reinterpretation, cascade recognition reveals that silent revelations impact extends beyond just correcting current understanding. Observers are revisiting entire history with you. Single facts get updated, truth revelation cascades backward, and forced acknowledgement about who you are, or what was really happening, triggers wholesale reinterpretation of past interactions, making observers discover that countless moments they thought they understood actually meant something completely different, creating profound recognition that their entire previous narrative about you or your situation was fundamentally mistaken, making them see not just present differently, but requiring them to reconstruct understanding of entire relational history. Once accurate truth framework replaces false interpretations that had organized all their memories of past events. Now the architects are revealing what your silence throughout this process actually demonstrated. You apparently maintained what they call truth confidence, non-defensive composure, where your refusal to actively defend yourself or correct misperceptions reflected deep certainty that reality would eventually reveal truth, making defensive explanations unnecessary, demonstrating psychological strength through trusting that circumstances would vindicate you without requiring your participation in revelation process. Most people defend themselves actively when misperceived, feeling urgency to correct false narratives. They explain themselves, provide evidence, argue against misinterpretations, making their self-defense demonstrate anxiety about whether truth will be recognized without their active intervention to ensure proper understanding. But you maintained silence, not defending yourself against misperceptions or working to reveal truth, suggests you possessed confidence that reality itself would demonstrate what needed to be known, making your non-defensive composure reflect either exceptional psychological security or strategic wisdom, recognizing that circumstances-based revelation would be more powerful than self-testimony. Consider what non-defensive silence requires psychologically. You must tolerate being misunderstood temporarily. Allowing others to maintain false narratives without correcting them requires extraordinary patience and confidence, making your silence demonstrate that being accurately understood mattered less than allowing truth to emerge through circumstances that would make revelation undeniable, rather than dependent on whether observers believed your account. Watch what truth confidence creates in revelation impact. Your silence made revelation more powerful because truth emerged through circumstances rather than through your claims. Observers cannot dismiss evidence as self-serving or biased, making circumstantial revelation more credible than any verbal defense you could have offered, regardless of how compelling your explanation might have been. Some studying strategic communication recognize that silence can be more powerful than speech, allowing circumstances to speak for you rather than defending yourself verbally creates stronger impact because observers discover truth themselves rather than being told it, making their recognition feel like their own realization rather than like accepting someone else's claims. Others exploring psychological security note that non-defensive behavior does signal confidence. People who feel compelled to defend themselves constantly reveal anxiety about whether others will recognize their worth without active self-promotion, while those who remain composed despite misperception demonstrate that external validation matters less than internal certainty. A few from power dynamics recognize that refusing to defend yourself maintains status. Self-defense can appear weak, making defensive explanations, potentially undermine credibility even when content is accurate, while maintaining composure despite misperception, project strength that defensive explanations would compromise. Some attempting similar, non-defensive silence discover extreme difficulty. Watching others maintain false narratives without correcting them creates powerful urge to explain and defend, making sustained silence require either exceptional self-control or genuine deep confidence that most people lack, making them unable to tolerate extended misperception without attempting verbal correction. Others questioning whether silence was strategic choice, wondering if you actually wanted to defend yourself but circumstances prevented it, or if you simply didn't care enough to bother correcting misperceptions. Recognizing that distinguishing between strategic non-defensive composure and indifferent silence is difficult for external observers. A few recognizing that silence carried risks. If circumstances hadn't eventually revealed truth, your non-defensive approach might have left false narratives permanently in place, suggesting your silence reflected other confidence about inevitable vindication or acceptance of permanent misunderstanding as tolerable outcome. The architects observe that truth confidence, non-defensive composure is what your silence demonstrated. Refusal to actively correct misperceptions reflected deep certainty that reality would reveal what needed to be known. Most people defend themselves actively. Your silence projected strength, and maintaining composure despite being misperceived demonstrated either exceptional psychological security or strategic wisdom, recognizing that circumstantial revelation would be more powerful than self-testimony, making your non-participation in revelation process actually enhance impact when truth eventually emerged through circumstances, creating undeniable evidence that your own claims could never have matched, regardless of how accurate or compelling your verbal defense might have been. The architects are now analyzing how silent revelation affected power dynamics. You're experiencing what they call vindication-based authority amplification, where being proven right through circumstances after maintaining dignified silence, while others maintained false narratives, creates disproportionate authority increase compared to simply being correct from beginning, making your vindication more powerful than ordinary accuracy, because contrast between how you were perceived and reality creates dramatic reversal, amplifying your credibility and status. Most people who are proven right gain modest acknowledgement when their accurate assessment gets confirmed by events. Observers recognize they were correct without necessarily granting significant authority increase, because being right once doesn't fundamentally change perception. But your vindication involves dramatic reversal. Observers went from maintaining false narratives about you to having undeniable evidence force, acknowledgement of truth, making contrast between their previous misperception and revealed reality so stark that your vindication doesn't just prove you were right, but makes observers grant you exceptional credibility, assuming that if they were so wrong about you, then you likely possess superior insight or judgment they should defer to going forward. Watch what vindication amplification creates in status dynamics. Your authority exceeds what accuracy alone would confer. Observers aren't just acknowledging you were right, but are granting you elevated status, assuming your vindication reveals exceptional qualities, making you more perceptive, capable, or trustworthy than they'd recognized, creating authority gain that exceeds what simply being correct would justify. Some studying social perception recognize that contrast effects do amplify reactions. Psychological research shows people's responses get magnified when outcomes dramatically contradict expectations, making your vindication more impactful than static accuracy, because observers are reacting to gap between previous false narrative and revealed truth rather than just to truth itself. Others exploring credibility note that being proven right against. Skepticism builds trust when someone's claims face doubt, then get confirmed by events. Their credibility increases more than if their claims were accepted initially, because vindication demonstrates reliability even when others were skeptical, making future claims more believable. A few from status competition recognize that others' wrongness elevates you relatively. Vindication gains power not just through proving you right, but through proving others wrong, making their acknowledged mistaken narratives lower their credibility while simultaneously raising yours, creating relative status shift where you gain authority, partly through their demonstrated poor judgment. Some experiencing vindication authority discover it comes with expectations. Being proven dramatically right makes observers assume you possess exceptional insight, generally creating pressure to maintain reputation. That vindication established through continuing to demonstrate superior judgment that validates elevated status they've granted you. Others questioning whether authority amplification is deserved, wondering if being proven right once justifies the disproportionate credibility increase observers are granting, recognizing that vindication might reflect fortunate circumstances or specific situation knowledge rather than general superior judgment making elevated authority potentially excessive response. A few recognizing that vindication can create resentment. Being proven right while others were wrong can generate hostility from those whose false narratives got exposed, making some observers resist granting you authority despite evidence, because acknowledging your vindication requires accepting their own mistaken judgment was inferior. Some celebrating amplified authority as earned, believing your dignified silence while being misperceived, followed by dramatic vindication justifies elevated status observers are granting, treating authority amplification as appropriate recognition of qualities that enabled you to maintain composure and trust that truth would emerge. Rather than defensively trying to force recognition, the architects observe that vindication-based authority amplification reveals that being proven right after maintaining dignified silence creates disproportionate status gain. Your vindication amplified credibility beyond what accuracy alone would confer. Simple correctness gains acknowledgement. Dramatic reversal grants authority, and contrast between observers' previous false narratives and undeniable revealed truth makes your vindication more powerful than ordinary accuracy through creating recognition gap where observers must acknowledge not just that you were right, but that you possessed insight or qualities enabling you to be right while they were wrong, making them grant elevated status. Assuming your vindication reveals exceptional judgment deserving deference going forward. Now something's emerging that the architects call silent witness, self-protection recognition observers, reflecting on your maintained silence, are discovering that non-defensive approach actually protected you from vulnerabilities that active self-defense would have created, making your silence strategic advantage rather than passive acceptance of misperception, because defending yourself would have provided ammunition for critics or created obligations that silence avoided. Most people assume defending yourself is necessary, believing that failing to correct misperceptions allows false narratives to persist, unchallenged, making active self-defense seem like obviously correct strategy for protecting reputation and ensuring accurate understanding. But observers are discovering your silence provided protections. By not defending yourself, you avoided revealing information that critics could have used against you, prevented creating expectations or commitments that verbal explanations would have established, maintained mysterious authority that detailed self-disclosure would have diminished, making non-defensive silence actually more protective than active defense would have been, despite seeming like passive vulnerability. Watch what protection recognition creates in strategic understanding. Some are reconsidering defense necessity, recognizing your silence. Protected, you makes them question whether actively defending themselves against criticism or misperception might actually create more vulnerability than maintaining dignified non-engagement that avoids providing additional information or creating obligations. Others are identifying specific vulnerabilities. Active defense creates verbal. Self-defense reveals information. Critics can analyze for weaknesses, creates claims that can be challenged or contradicted, establishes expectations about what you'll explain or justify, all making defense potentially more dangerous than silence that provides no additional ammunition while maintaining interpretive ambiguity. A few are recognizing that explaining yourself creates obligations. Once you defend yourself against one criticism, you implicitly commit to addressing all criticisms, making silence untenable going forward, while maintaining consistent non-engagement. Avoids establishing expectation that you owe explanations, creating freedom to remain silent about anything without this being interpreted as admission. Some studying strategic communication recognize that mystery does provide power. Maintaining silence about yourself preserves ambiguity that can be advantageous, making others unable to fully understand or predict you, while detailed self-explanation eliminates mystery, creating complete transparency that reduces strategic flexibility and authority that ambiguity provides. Others exploring persuasion note that self-defense often backfires. Research shows people defending themselves frequently create impression of defensiveness or guilt, making explanations less credible than silence, suggesting your non-defensive approach might have been more persuasive through what it didn't say than any verbal defense could have been. A few questioning whether protection was intentional, wondering if you deliberately maintained silence for strategic self-protection, or if protective effects were fortunate byproducts of silence motivated by other factors like confidence or indifference. Recognizing attributing strategic intention requires evidence about your actual reasoning that observers might lack. Some celebrating silence strategy as sophisticated, viewing your non-defensive approach as demonstrating advanced strategic thinking that recognized silence's protective advantages, making them admire not just your vindication, but the wisdom enabling you to maintain composure without falling into defensive response trap that would have created vulnerabilities. Others experiencing regret about their own defensive patterns, recognizing how your silence protected you makes them realize their habitual self-defense might be creating vulnerabilities they could avoid through maintaining similar dignified non-engagement when facing criticism or misperception. The architects observe that silent witness, self-protection recognition, reveals that your non-defensive silence provided strategic advantages beyond just allowing circumstances to reveal truth. Silence protected you from vulnerabilities active defense would create. Most assume explaining yourself is necessary. Your silence proved protective, and recognition that defending yourself would have revealed information critics could use, created obligations ongoing, silence avoided, eliminated mystery that ambiguity preserves, makes observers understand your non-defensive approach as sophisticated strategic choice rather than passive acceptance, demonstrating that maintaining dignified silence when misperceived can actually provide better protection than active self-defense, despite conventional wisdom suggesting explaining yourself is necessary for preventing false narratives from damaging reputation or relationships.